Let's talk about the sweet little angels, the 10-year-old Sephora kids running around the streets of Sephora and their obsession with drunk elephant products. I wanted to talk about this because I genuinely feel like there is so much hate for these little kids. I'm like, yo, let's not excuse their little chaotic and messy behavior in these stores. That's definitely not okay. But I think we need to talk about the bigger story, the bigger picture behind all of this that we are also kind of part of. Think about, where is all of this coming from? Why? So I have some of my notes here actually, because I was just like listing all the different reasons this could be, like why these kids have come up. And I actually want to start off with maybe the one that is the furthest of a stretch. But I think it's very interesting. I think it could be a factor. So you let me know in the comments if you feel like I'm pushing it a little bit. Perhaps Sephora and Ulta and these similar stores are like the new third places or third spaces for these kids to hang out. Usually you have your home and then school or work, right? For these kids, it's obviously school. And then that third place is like the safe hangout space. And right now, I feel like Sephora is maybe fitting into that image. Like when we were kids, I think our third places were like parks and playgrounds. And in my teen years, I feel like the mall was definitely more of an area, or just like walking around in kind of more in a downtown area. And I talked about third places in my Suburban Nightmare video briefly if you want to go watch it. But this third place for everyone is just like a safe space to hang out that's not home or work or school. And because America is built on plazas and strip malls, you don't have the independence that a lot of kids in other countries do, where perhaps you live in a walkable community. When you're very car reliant, like once you can drive, sure, it's good, you can go out and drive. But when you are a child, a tween, you cannot drive. So you have these kind of designated places where you can go to hang out with your friends. Honestly, as a 10 to 13 year old, you can't drive out there and choose your destinations. You're kind of just dropped off at a place and you have fun with your friends. And so I do wonder, if we did not live in a very car-based and car-dependent society, if we had these walkable communities, once again, these little town centers or community centers where everyone just kind of comes together and vibe, if that would take it out of the equation. So I don't know, y'all, I'm just throwing it out there because I literally think about I literally dream of a walkable community, because it's literally every time I'm out on these streets, I'm like, this is not comfy. And if I, as an adult, do not feel comfy, so if I don't feel comfortable, obviously I don't think kids should be hanging out on the street too. But if they don't hang out on the street, where are they hanging out? Where? Next thing you know, Sephora, because of the following. It really goes back to why I wasn't allowed on Facebook before the age of 13. I am confused by what I'm even about to say next, which is social media's influence on these kids to consume, and buy drunk elephants specifically, because as I was thinking, like, oh yeah, like social media obviously influences them, but then I was thinking to my childhood and when I got on social media, I remember that you need to be 13. And I don't know if that policy is still there, but just by the sheer amount of 9-10-year-old get ready with me's, like, not even the fact that they have an account, but the fact that they're posting, a whole nother story. But I think back to when I, like, literally the first time I entered my birthday into Facebook, and it was like, oh, you're too young. And then obviously I just made an account with an older birthday. I think I was about 11 then, so it's like, it makes sense. Also, it wasn't just me, because like literally everyone in my grade had Facebook then, and I was one of the later ones to actually have a real account. But I think what's also different with social media nowadays is there is like TikTok, obviously. But what makes that so different is, when I was in that age, in my tween years, and everyone had a Facebook, when you're on Facebook, you kind of just interact with the people, like you're adding friends that you already know from school or whatever. So like these people you know in real life. But when, let's just say, because I'm just going to assume that these kids are bypassing the 13-year-old thing. And I think for TikTok specifically, when you're under 13, you have like a different like safer kid version of TikTok, so kids can have TikTok. Obviously they're getting exposed to way more than they would ever if it was just like Facebook friends you know in real life, because as y'all know on TikTok, the For You page is so chaotic. You never know what's coming up next. First video of a puppy. Second, there's life advice. And then third video is a cooking video. Fourth video is like the worst news you could hear ever in the world. But without a doubt, like the specific drunk elephant obsession, I think has to come from TikTok, because I see the 10-year-old get ready with me's, or like the middle schooler get ready with me's on TikTok when they're using the skincare, and it's like a pile of drunk elephant. You know, it's like it's a showcase in the video. Now, I'm not sure how Drunk Elephant became the That Girl brand for these kids, but it sure is. And the more people post with, like the more kids post with them, the more that just gets like in the cycle, and people want, like little kids want that for themselves. Not to mention, this is my next point, like the kid influencers, if they see a kid influencer, you know, if they see, I think there's this girl named Harper, I'm not sure if she uses Drunk Elephant, but obviously there are these kids out there who are using Drunk Elephant and they have massive followings. So they see that this person has a full collection of Drunk Elephant and they have hundreds of thousands of likes on their videos. I mean, that also signals to a child or to a tween, and that it's cool, and I want to be a part of that. But I don't really see any like adults praising Drunk Elephant. I know they had their era, but I think it's been a while, so it's not like this like super popular brand now. Drunk Elephant to these kids is like the Stanley Cup to like the older people, the adults. And now almost everyone, it feels like, has a Stanley Cup. Coincidentally, most of these people who have Stanley Cup probably also have TikTok or social media of some form. And no hate to the Stanley Cup, but I just want to zoom out and look at everything from just like consumerism as an angle. I mean, if adults can be influenced to get Stanley Cups, and especially the people who get like multiple Stanley Cups in all colors and sizes, I don't know if they have multiple sizes, but you know, all of it, they have the collection. I mean, don't hate me if you're one of these people, but I feel like maybe the adult Stanley Cup collectors are like the tween Drunk Elephant kids. Is that a fair comparison? I don't know, but what I'm saying is it's all being influenced by social media's push for consumerism and these trends. And basically, if adults can't even control being influenced, how do you think a tween, someone who has yet to have their brain develop fully and is just beginning to grasp at life really, is not supposed to be influenced? I just wonder what that would look like if there was no TikTok or social media for these kids. Because, like, let's not lie, we had these trends and products we were obsessed with. Like, I think every generation has that. For me, it was like the Bath and Body hand sanitizers, the silly bands. Like, everybody was obsessed with, like, or not maybe obsessed, but everyone had like a Abercrombie and Fitch sweatshirt. And so it's like, yeah, you can't really blame the kids for having like a trend of their time. I think there is another conversation to be had of, should kids be using these products? Probably not, because like they don't need it. And so imagine if TikTok didn't exist. Like, I genuinely, or like similar platforms, I genuinely feel like there would not be an obsession with Drunk Elephant. Here's why. With silly bands, with Abercrombie and Fitch sweatshirts, with hand sanitizers, these were all things that you like saw visibly on like someone else in your class or your friends at school. If someone's wearing silly bands, it's like very obvious, right? So, interestingly enough, like skincare products are products that you use at home. They don't go to school with you. And so if somebody, unless somebody comes to your house and like wakes up with you or has a sleepover with you, you don't really know what products they're using in a skincare, whether they be a tween or not, or if they like, unless they post on social media, right? If they just went to school together, they would never know that somebody sitting next to them uses Drunk Elephant at night if they did. Yet because they do have TikTok, I think this is why Sephora hasn't known a day of peace since then. So we talked about the idea of Sephora being a third place. We talked about how social media, especially TikTok, probably just makes it much more of an influence for these kids to hop on Drunk Elephant. and acts as a collection to do so. I kind of want to go back to the kid influencer thing, kind of how they're just showing off their drunk elephant possessions, because I think this goes with social acceptance as an issue. Obviously, people want to be socially accepted. Like, it's not a tween specific thing. I think it's most people in general. So again, let's not blame them for that. And unfortunately, at this day and age, having a collection of drunk elephants seems to be the way you can be cool. And like I mentioned before, because kids can see other kids getting so many likes, so much internet validation, nice comments probably, it is a signal to them that this is kind of who I want to be. If I want to be like this, then I should probably add drunk elephant to my skincare routine as well. Basically, if you're a kid and your friend group has been infiltrated by drunk elephant, there is a natural inclination to also want drunk elephant, even though like maybe at the end of the day you don't want it, because when you're young, like you're just impressionable and you're easily influenced, and you also want to be accepted by the group and kind of want to conform and be like fit in basically. And if a drunk elephant product is the way, then it's the way. Next, I want to talk about actually the brand's problem in making this worse. But I just want to say those are kind of like the main reasons I see for why drunk elephant Sephora has kind of like become the thing for these 10-year-old kids. But when it comes to the brand's responsibility, this actually, y'all, I was so stumped and I was thinking here, but then my camera died, so I'm just going to use this Instagram post from Drunk Elephant to explain further. Anyway, so as you can see, this post explaining, can kids and tweens use Drunk Elephant, from Drunk Elephant, the brand themselves. I just want to clarify, I have no problem with kids using skincare, because there is like some good things that you can use, like a cleanser, sunscreen, etc. And I also got my first zit and pimple when I was 9 years old. I didn't use skincare for that, and had I really started, I think it would have helped prevent a lot of major acne and breakouts I had later down the line. But when I saw the first word in this caption being, yes, kids and tweens can use Drunk Elephant, I was a little bit annoyed, not gonna lie, because it almost feels like an encouragement from the brand for these tweens to be using their brand. There's a whole discussion about the price point for these products too, but not talking about that. For the caption itself, I tried to, take a breath and look at it from a more of an unbiased perspective. And you know what? It's really not that bad. I mean, a lot of people don't read most long captions. That's one thing. But if you really did read it, and that's not the brand's fault if you don't read the whole caption, they do state which products kids and tweens should not use, and also offers a simple, pretty stripped down skincare routine that the kids can use. What I'm kind of stuck on is I can't tell if this is a post that is like very matter of fact, or if it's one that more so encourages kids to use, in which the brand does maybe have some responsibility with, again, targeting and marketing specifically for kids to use their products when they really might not need to at all. That's kind of the last thing I wanted to bring up in this video, so definitely let me know in the comments what you think as well, because I feel like there is definitely so much to go into that I didn't even talk about. Thank you so much for watching and letting me be part of this discussion. Like and subscribe if you got anything from this video, and I will see you in the next one.